Hello everyone, I hope that you're all doing well and that this video lesson here will help you out with creating buttons. I got a lot of emails asking for help in making your buttons work, so I'm going to kind of go over everything and review what we learned in class, and hopefully this will get you on the right track. So the first thing is, remember that we're working with ActionScript 2.0. We've done ActionScript 3.0 projects before, but generally you're going to be sticking with 2.0. With ActionScript 3.0, you got to define classes, and it gets really complex. And for your own personal projects and for class projects, stick with 2.0. Alright, so here we have our stage. We have our properties window here. I'm going to click on my stage. Over here are the properties of my stage color. The size of my stage is very important. Make sure you set that up earlier. I believe we had, for the assignment, the volcano assignment you guys are working on now is 1024 by 768 is what we decided to use. And it's important that you know what number you have here, because I got a few emails asking me, what size should I make my pictures, or if I'm opening it in Photoshop, or if I'm creating a graphic in Photoshop. Well, that all depends on what size your stage is. If your stage is, let's say, 200 by 200, it's really tiny. Well, if you're creating a Photoshop document, you don't want it to be like 1000 pixels. You want it to be maybe 100 or 50 pixels by 50 pixels. So you got to keep this in mind when you're designing your shape and kind of eyeball what size you want it to be. It's always a little bit better to go a little bit bigger than what you think it would be, because you can always size it down. But if you size it up, sometimes it could mess up the quality. So that should answer that question. Your frame rate should be between 12 and 24 or even 30. Just keep in mind that if you're going up to 24 and 30, you're going to need more frames in your timeline when you're doing your effects and things like that, your tweens and things like that. So it'll look smoother, but just keep that in mind. The other thing is you have your library here. We're going to talk about keeping that organized, and then your timelines down here, and that's about it. So let's get started. The first thing is you got to create a symbol to make a button. So if I'm going to make my own customized button, I would go to Insert, New Symbol, and over here I would give it a name. Now my tip for you in creating button names is, or any names, is try to keep it organized. If you start giving them random names with big projects like this volcano one, you're going to drive yourself crazy, because your library, your symbols are going to be all over the place, and you're going to have a hard time keeping track of them and finding them. So what I do is, if I have a button, I'll type in at the beginning BTN, and then underscore. You don't have to even type the underscore if you don't want BTN, and then whatever it is, I don't know, cool. And the BTN, because everything gets stored in alphabetical order in your library, when you type in BTN, all the buttons will kind of stay in the same area, so you can see them all in one list. And then give it an appropriate name. So maybe I'll call this, instead of cool, I will call this, first try or whatever. It's just so I know, oh, this is my first button that I was making, and it's easy to access. The type is going to be a button, so make sure you select that, and that's it. You click OK. So once you've done that, you'll have your stage change. You're going to go from your stage to your symbol. You're now inside the symbol here, and you'll also notice that the timeline changes as well. We're going to start out with just making a simple shape, so I'm going to go to my oval tool here, and I'm going to choose a color other than white. So I'm going to turn the stroke off, and we're going to choose maybe a bright red color, and I'm going to make a red circle, and I want to try to keep the red circle to as close as possible to the center. There we go, and that's it. There's my button. I can leave it now. And of course, if you wanted to animate your button, you can do that here as well. You could have done this in Photoshop. You can make your import your images in from Photoshop if you remember how to do that as well. But I could just insert a keyframe here, F6, and then change the color to green. And then when they click it, I can change to another color. Insert a blank keyframe. Oh, not a blank one actually. It's make our lives easier, and insert a keyframe and change the color to maybe blue. There we go. Or I think I clicked black, but that's fine. So there you have it. Let's go back to the stage, and if I go inside my library, my button is right here, BTN first try. I can drag it out to my stage, and there it is. If I run the program, or the Swift file, the exported Swift file, it should look like that when I roll over it, and I click it, it does that. but it doesn't do any actions. So let's assign actions. There's two ways you can assign actions. There's the easier way and the more efficient way. I'm going to show you the easier way for now, and then you can do the more efficient way later at another video tutorial. You can either type in the code in the stage itself, in your layers on the stage, or in ActionScript 2.0 you can type it inside the button. If I type it in the stage on like a actions layer, then I would have to assign a instance name to my button. If I assign the actions to my button itself, if I type, give the button code, then, or action script, if I script the button, then I don't have to give it an instance name. So there's pros and cons to that, but for the projects you're doing now, stick with typing your actions inside the button. So I'm going to click on the button one time. If you double click it, what's going to happen is that you're going to go, in the symbol. That's what happens there. So that's not what you want to do. You just want to single click just to select the button, and then I can push F9 or go to Window and type in and click on Actions. So let's push F9 here and pull up my Actions menu or window, and that didn't work. It might be because of the video program I'm using here. So I go to Actions here, and here's my Actions window. I confirm that I'm inside the button because it's selected, and also here it says Actions button. If it says Actions frame, I know I'm in the wrong place. So the code you type in when you're in the button is on, open parentheses, press, open curly bracket, skip a line, close curly bracket, and then you type in the action. So when on, press, when the action of press happens on the button, when it gets clicked, do whatever's within these brackets here. And I can tell it what I want it to do. So here I can say go to and stop, and I can type in a frame 5 semicolon. So, and that's that. But what I'm missing here is a couple things. First of all, there is no frame 5 right now. There's nothing there. It's not going to work. So first of all, I have to insert a keyframe here. Actually, I'm going to insert a frame here. And so there's that. So now there's a frame 5, and I need frame 5 to look different so I know that it works. So I'm going to make a new layer. This one will be my button layer, or I don't even see layer, button. And then on the top one, I'll type in text. And over here, I can say, here on frame 1, I can type in text and say, let's go to the type tool here. Go over here and type in, you are at frame 1. And let's make sure that it's the, right here, always make sure you check this. My text box is dynamic text. I need it to be static text. So always be mindful of what kind of text boxes you're creating. So you are at frame 1. I'm going to go here, insert a blank keyframe here, F6. And, oh, I meant F7. There we go. And over here, I'm going to make another text box. Let's make it different. Welcome to frame 5. And there you have it. So now if I try my code, let's see if it'll work. And it's not going to work. So watch what happens right now if I run my code. And it's just going back and forth. You are at frame 1, you are at frame 5. Why is that happening? Well, what happens is Flash will just play through my timeline and then loop back. Play through and loop back. Play through and loop back. I need to tell it to stop at frame 1. So let's go ahead and make a new layer. Call it Actions. So say AS for ActionScript. And right at frame 1, I'm going to pull up my Actions window here. Actions. And I'm going to type in stop. Open parentheses, close parentheses, semicolon. So now if I run my movie, it'll wait at frame 1. If I click the button, it'll stop at frame 5. There you have it. So that's the basics of creating a button. If I want this button to go to another stage, well, then I have to do something else. Let's pull out another button. This one's my second button. I'm going to assign different actions to this one. So let's open up my actions here. And on this one, I'm going to have it say on, press. You can do on release too if you want it to play through the, if you want the action to happen after they let go of the mouse. So that's your choice. So on, press, go to and stop, open parentheses. In quotation marks, I'll type in scene 2. Now you have to type this exactly right. First of all, it doesn't have to be called scene 2. My scene 2 can be called something else. I can call it, in fact, I'll do that. Let's call it something else. Let's call it new scene. And I'm going to do all one. I don't like spaces in there, so I'm just going to do all one word, new scene. And then I have to specify what frame. So it's going to go to new scene, and it's going to be frame 1. And then close parentheses and the semicolon. So it's going to go to the scene called new scene, and it's going to go to frame 1. We got to create that first, though. It's not going to work right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to insert, new scene. Where am I? Insert scene. Here we go. And I'm going to first of all name this scene. So I'm going to go to window and scene. Actually, it's under, I believe, other panels than scenes. There it is. And I'm just going to double click and call this new scene. And it is case sensitive. Once I've done that, I'm all set. I can go over here and go to, let's just type something here so I know that I'm in the new scene. So you are at scene 2. And that's it. So let's push Control Enter. And now frame 1, now frame 5. That works great. If I click here, I'm at scene 2. So that's the basics of it. Nothing more complicated than that. So hopefully this will help you out. I know it was a bit long, but I kind of went over all of the basics, and that should apply to anything you do. You can use graphics from Photoshop or Illustrator, or use the buttons that come with Flash, although I would prefer you make your own buttons to really customize your animations. And that's it. Hope that helped you out, and hope to see everyone soon. Take care.